What is up, everybody? This is Adam. Welcome back to Fouled Out. We are coming off of one of the wildest basketball games I have ever watched in my life. Game 4 between the Knicks and Spurs, which featured the Knicks coming back from an NBA Finals record 29-point deficit to take a commanding 3-1 series lead in the NBA Finals. Matt and I are going to do our best to make sense of what we just watched and talk about what that means moving forward, both for this series and for the NBA as a whole. Also, probably going to have some NBA draft takes in here as we are just about a week and a half or 2 weeks out from the NBA draft, which I'm looking forward to as a Kings fan. Before we get started, I wanted to talk about the World Cup a little bit. It started today with a 2-0 Mexico win over South Africa. We also have Korea and Czechia kicking off in a couple hours here. And the U.S. plays their first game the day this pod drops, which is going to be Friday, June 12th. I'll be honest with you guys. I am the most casual soccer fan in the world. I pop in about every 2 years. I get really into Euro and really into the World Cup. So I watch the tournament, take 2 years off, come back. So I am not a fountain of knowledge in soccer like I am in football and basketball and all the things that we actually talk about on this podcast. But I do have a take I want to share on the World Cup. There was an article released maybe 2 weeks ago talking about how disappointed the American team was in their fans, especially relating to they played in the final of the Copa Cup, and it was in Houston, I believe, against Mexico. And as you would expect, like 90% of the stadium was cheering for Mexico. And the U.S. was really disappointed, and they were saying, hey, if we're going to make any type of significant World Cup run, we really need the fans to come out and support us. We're playing in the U.S. This has to be a big event. You guys need to get excited. They are playing at a time where there's going to be nothing going on, right? The NBA Finals is going to end in at least if we go 7, then we have one more week, but it's going to end during the World Cup, and all eyes are going to be on the World Cup because it's just World Cup and regular season baseball going on. World Cup is obviously the most important sporting event in the entire world for anyone who is not in North America. It just happens to be hosted here. So all eyes are going to be on the U.S. As the host country, as well as Mexico and Canada. And my response to the U.S. team would be that fandom and people paying absolutely ludicrous prices to come out and support you is earned. It's not given. And if you want to start building soccer as a major sport in the US and develop like a rabid fan base, you have to have a good showing in the World Cup first before people are going to really jump on the bandwagon. So the US is the top rated team in their group per the FIFA rankings. They're 17th. I believe Turkey is 21st, Australia is 24th, and then Paraguay is in the 40s. I think they're 41. So you're the top rated team in your group. Your first game is tomorrow night against Paraguay I believe it's in Los Angeles. You need to show up before people are going to show up for you. United States men's team. You're a middling to mediocre national team. There's nobody super famous on this team. I can barely name anybody outside of Captain America, Christian Pulisic, who, he's been a backup in the Premier League for years. So I just thought it was kind of ridiculous that this team is crying about, oh, we don't have enough fans here. And if we're going to make a World Cup run, we really need you guys to come and support us. You need to do something that's worth that support. The tickets for group play are in the thousands of dollars. It's ludicrous pricing. It's pricing that the vast majority of Americans cannot afford with everything going on right now. And you want to complain that people aren't coming out to support you. No shit. Not only can the vast majority of people not afford it, they don't care because you've never done anything significant. So I think this is a challenge to the U.S. team to this is your opportunity. It's at home. It's on primetime every night. You can build soccer as a bigger sport in North America with a good showing in this World Cup. They need to win their group for starters. Bare minimum, you got to get to the knockout round. In the last World Cup, they played to a draw with England, which was massive. But if you would have won that game, that's where it gets really exciting. A draw is great, And don't get like England's one of the best teams in the world, and they were one of the best teams in the world at the time. So that was exciting. But if you would have beat them, it would have really been a story. And I don't think you can settle for being mediocre in this tournament and being like, oh, yeah, well, we didn't win the group, but we advanced and we lost in the first round of the knockout. And it was another good showing for the U.S. You need to win the group, put yourself in an advantageous situation for the knockout round, and hopefully win a game. You know, I think that would go a really long way to creating excitement for soccer in the U.S., especially. I think you can say the same thing about Canada. Mexico is obviously rabid about soccer. I know a lot of my Mexican coworkers were super excited about the game today, super happy with the result. So congratulations to those guys. But I'm super interested to see what the U.S. side is going to do over the next couple of weeks and up to a month. As far as the tournament overall, like I said, I am not a fountain of knowledge when it comes to soccer. So I'll give my takes on the pod as a super casual soccer fan, but I'm not going to like give you guys a great pick. I looked at, I'm reading ranking lists to catch up with who all the great players are. I'm looking at like FanDuel and DraftKings, and I see that Spain, France, and England are the favorites. So that would be my pick. It's probably going to be Spain or France based on everything I've read. But I just also being super casual about it is one of the things that I enjoy the most, because through my fandom and then through this podcast and making picks and having takes and all this stuff, I always have like a side I'm rooting for. Like even in the NBA finals, I'm not a fan of the Spurs or the Knicks, but I picked the Spurs to win the finals, and I'm watching the Knicks eviscerate them, and I'm like, God. So there's all these reasons, like, fantasy sports and the podcast and fandom and all these reasons that I always have a rooting interest in sports. The World Cup, I honestly don't care. And that's what I enjoy about it so much, because I could just sit back and enjoy this amazing event that only comes around once every 4 years. Because like the international competition is something I love. That's something I love in the Olympics and, Winter and Summer Olympics. I love the international competition of the World Cup. I love how much everyone else around the world cares about this and their passion for it. So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the next month, and I will share my casual takes with you guys at the opener of every episode of the podcast. But before we get started, just a reminder, you can reach out to us, foul.sports@gmail.com. Really appreciate you guys listening. We always love to hear from you. If you haven't checked it out yet, go on YouTube, search Foul.Sports. You can watch the podcast on YouTube. You can now watch the podcast on Spotify. I found that out accidentally last week. But I posted the video on Spotify, and there it is. So go watch it on Spotify, go watch it on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe to support that. And as always, thank you for your support. That said, let's grab Matt and let's talk about what the hell just happened in the NBA Finals. Let's go. All right, Matt is here, sheltering from a potential tornado in Kalamazoo. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
As well as one can when you're expecting your like 5th or 6th tornado of the year.
Yeah, so if we lose Matt at some point in the podcast, we will know that he is no longer in Kansas, unfortunately. I don't know what's crazier, the fact that Kalamazoo's going to get hit by their 5th tornado so far this year, or the fact that we just watched the Spurs blow an NBA Finals record 29-point lead to fall down 3-1 against the Knicks.
Ironically, I think it's still the Spurs.
Yeah, somehow. I mean, I guess the tornadoes are expected at some point. You're just like, yeah.
Why would I get nice things?
Yeah. Oh, man, there's so much to talk about with this game specifically. But I'll start here. I don't know how you felt watching the game last night, but I gotta say that the 8:30 start times are killing me. Yes. For the NBA Finals games. Absolutely murdering me, because every other night, and like going back into the conference finals as well, it's been every other night staying up until at least midnight. And then last night I got in bed at midnight and had to stare at the wall for 45 minutes because I couldn't fall asleep after what I just witnessed. My wife's like, "What are you doing? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I don't know what I just watched. I can't put it. I couldn't And then like, everybody's texting and like there's also, so
Yeah.
I didn't go to bed till 1 last night. I got up at 5:30 for, stuff and work. So the 8:30 start times are killing me, first of all. But at halftime last night, it was a 27-point game at halftime. And I was sitting there watching TV and I was like, maybe I'll go to bed early. And I just had this gut feeling at halftime. I'm not saying that I called the comeback. All I'm saying is I had this gut feeling at halftime that was like, I cannot go to bed yet. Because I was like, if I go to bed and I wake up and the first thing I do is check the score of that game and the Knicks won, I am going to be so pissed off. And thank God I did. And there was multiple points in the third quarter too, where I was like, maybe now I can go to bed. Thank God I didn't, because we watched history in so many ways last night. And as someone who has watched an infinite amount of games of every sport, I've watched, I can't count how many basketball and football, and baseball and hockey. Like I can't count how many games I watch. There are certain games, especially when your team is not playing in them, there's a very limited amount of games where you're watching it and in the moment you're like, this is history. And like the OG Anunoby tip in to win the game, I was like, I'm going to be watching that play on highlight reels for the next 30 years of my life. Like, I don't know how many times I'm going to see that play, but I was like, just watching it in the moment, I just knew, I was like, I'm going to be watching this play forever.
That was one of those moments where I was just like, that shouldn't even be possible, because you're taught in elementary school the most dangerous man on an inbounds pass is the inbounding passer.
Yeah.
And nobody got a body on him.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about with the Spurs, and that play is one example of what happened last night and why the Knicks were able to come back from being down 29, which, like I said, is an NBA record for the largest deficit ever overcome in an NBA Finals game. But I felt like Game 3 was such a microcosm of who the Spurs are as a basketball team right now in so many ways. And it was fascinating. Like, the series has been fascinating to me because the Spurs have shot themselves in the foot at every single turn.
It's funny because, like, I feel like what we've seen is, like, the reasons why I was like, yeah, I think the Spurs will drop 1 or 2 games, right? And then they were like, we're going to turn that shit up to fucking 15.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they've had a double-digit lead in the first half of all 4 games, and they have also had a lead in the last 2 minutes of all 4 games. And they're down 3-1. The thing that's shocking to me here is before the Thunder series and for like the month leading up to the Thunder series, I was picking the Thunder over the Spurs because I was worried about the Spurs' maturity as a basketball team.
Yeah.
Like, not as individuals, not like they're going to go do stupid stuff, like go to the strip club or whatever, but just like the maturity and the experience of like being on the court and going through the wars and having that experience. When they beat Oklahoma City, they went down 3-2 to Oklahoma City and won Game 6 and then Game 7 in Oklahoma City. That's where I was like, wow, I was wrong. This team is ready. Like, they have taken that step. I cannot believe they just beat the defending champs, the best team in the league. Like, they took that step forward, and then to instantly come back and just be like, we haven't taken a step forward at all.
You know where your miscalculation was. And like, I fell for this too. They already won their championship.
Yeah.
Like, that's abundantly clear, right? They said all the right things in the media after that series. Like, we're not done yet, right? Like, we got to finish the job. Like, the monstrous level of difference in focus that this team has between this series in the Western Conference Finals is truly staggering. And I wouldn't even say that they were like super focused against OKC. Maybe that's more Castle that I'm remembering than anything else. It's just like as a team though, like this is across the board. 1 through 12, that entire roster, they can't keep their foot on the gas. They can't execute for a full game or even for 3/4.
And that's why I said that game 4 is such like a microcosm of who the Spurs are as a team right now, and that level of immaturity that I've been worried about for months coming back to bite them in the ass, because they come out in the first half and they're just eviscerating the Knicks. Like it really seemed like, you lose games 1 and 2 at home. Game 2 especially is that game where Wemby threw the pass off of Stephon Castle's back. And there's blame pie to go around there, but they shoot themselves in the foot. They lose game 2, and you're like, God, you're just going into New York being like, it should be 1-1. It should really be 1-1, like at least. And we really blew it. And now we have to go and win in New York. And they do win game 3. And game 3 is like a super weird game. The energy is super weird because Donald Trump decided to show up, and it gets really weird, and they win it. And then going into game 4, it felt, even before game 4, it felt like the Spurs had taken momentum back, and that like the Knicks and their fans and everybody was really nervous because the energy was off in New York. So for the Spurs to come out and just be absolutely playing the Knicks out of the gym for the first half, it was like Spurs in 6. Like at halftime, it was just like this series is over.
It truly felt at halftime that after game 3, getting that win, like they figured it out, they found their focus, right, and they raided the ship, and like they were gonna rattle off 4 wins, right, or even if they didn't, like it was kind of an inevitability that they were going to take this series at least in 7, right? Clearly not how it played out. And I just don't know how, especially down in a series, you can come out in the second half without kind of just trying to go pedal to the metal.
So in the first half, they hit an NBA Finals record 14 threes. They're 14 of 26, which was the most threes that's ever been hit in a single half of an NBA Finals game. And I just feel like this is the Spurs, and Stephon Castle is the poster boy for this. Is that like when the Spurs are doing things right, I just feel like they start feeling themselves too much, and then they just start doing stupid shit. Like they get overconfident, they get cocky, and like the 3-pointers is a great example of this because you hit 14 in the first half, and like the Spurs are not a great 3-point shooting team, and they hit 14, and like everything was going in, everything. They're nailing all these shots. They're perfect offense. They're driving, they're kicking, they're setting up threes in rhythm. They're like, it's just like absolute thing of beauty. The best offensive half I have seen in I don't know how long. I don't remember the last time I watched an offensive half like that. Just purely beautiful. The Knicks could do absolutely nothing to stop them.
So the prime Golden State era.
Yeah, like the Kevin Durant Warriors was the last time I've seen offense this good. And they come out in the second half, and like they're obviously just feeling themselves. And they shot 12. They go 2 of 12 from 3 in the third quarter. And I text you multiple times, and I'm like, stop with the threes. Just stop. Like they are not falling anymore. You have to stop. There's like 2 big differences in the third quarter. One, the threes stopped being a result of good offense. And this is the thing that like pisses me off more than anything else in basketball, is that teams, like when you're hitting a large quantity of threes, teams like don't seem to understand where those threes are coming from. And in the first half, they're like doing all of the little things that you need to do offensively. They're moving, they're driving, they're kicking, they're passing. The ball is moving faster than the man can. Like they're going to Wembanyama down low and he's kicking it out. And they're doing like all of the things that generate good looks from three. And then in the second half, they're feeling themselves. And I'm watching Dylan Harper take like an isolation step back three that he airballs, like one of the worst shots. It was nowhere close to the rim. It didn't even make it to the rim from Dylan Harper. And then the next possession down, he's like, I'm going to do another one. And I'm like, no. This, like, the threes were falling in the first half because they were set up by good offense. They were the result of good offense. And then the Spurs are like, wow, we can't miss from three. Let's just take a bunch of stupid ones. And Wemby's like, let me go. I want to take threes. He was like 0 of 8 from three in the second half. And I'm like, and this is the problem. This is why I think, like, I'm saying this is a microcosm of who the Spurs are, because like this is who Stephon Castle is like, he'll come and do some awesome stuff and be really good. And he's like driving and getting these really physical buckets. He's playing great defense. And then all of a sudden he throws a pass that like hits someone in the fourth row in the head. And you're like, what the fuck was that? And then he follows it up with something else stupid. And you're like, okay, like, but this is that immaturity as a team, is like, you stop running a good offense. You take, like you said, you take your foot off the pedal and you're just like, yeah, well, we're just going to shoot threes and it'll be fine. And then when the threes aren't falling and the Knicks are like coming back a little bit, they're coming back a little bit. Like the lead goes from 27 to 20. And then all of a sudden it's 16. And then all of a sudden it's 13. And the closer it got, the more the Spurs shat their pants and they start throwing like desperation lobs to Wemby, and they're just like, oh my God, like bail us out. Someone bail us out. Like, let's play a bunch of
Wemby.
Right. Well, they're like, here, isolate on the wing and isolate from three. And like, let's Dylan Harper, you isolate. Like, what do we do? And they stopped doing all of the little things that win you a basketball game. And the culmination of that is going back to the original point on the OG Anunoby tip-in. You send Wemby out to guard Jalen Brunson. But for some reason, that's not good enough. And we need to also double team Jalen Brunson. So De'Aaron Fox, like, we can have a Fox conversation in a minute here, but Wemby is on Brunson and Fox is just like standing in space staring at him. And he's like, well, I better go double team him. No, you can do one of two things. If you're the Spurs in that situation, you can have Wemby guard Brunson or you can double team Brunson. You cannot do both because you have no rebounding at that point. Nobody puts a body on Anunoby. Nobody boxes out. He just runs right in and tips it in. And like, it was a hard tip. It's a great play by Anunoby, but it's a complete failure of basketball fundamentals, right?
Yeah. And when I brought that up earlier, I genuinely don't want to take any credit away from Anunoby, because even without being touched by anyone, which again is insane to me, like, that's still an incredibly impressive play to get there in the time frame that he did, be able to gather, rise above everyone else, and accurately tip that in. Like, great play. And none of it should have been remotely possible.
Yes. This is the old two things can be true thing where it's like, it's a phenomenal play by OG, but also like, what are we doing, San Antonio? Like, what is going on in this situation? And you think about, like, they blow this 29-point lead, and the first thing everybody's talking about is like, oh, this is 28-3 all over again. This is the Falcons blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl to the Patriots. My 2 cents is that it is not as bad as the Falcons blowing that lead, specifically because, like, the Spurs still have a chance to win this series. It's not over.
Yes.
Right?
And I think too, because I think when people are saying that, they're only isolating their focus on the individual game. In football, the championship round is the one game.
Yeah.
in basketball, it is first to four, right? In this scenario, in the championship perspective, the Spurs were already down where it matters, right? Like, they don't get extra points for winning by 30. And I think too, this needs to be noted, like, I'm not like trying to nail him to the cross or anything, but with the way that Wemby has been propped up at this point, like this needs to be mentioned because we are already having conversations about, when he becomes the GOAT, right? How many points did the Spurs lose by?
Uno.
How many free throws did Wemby miss in the final moments?
Yeah, at least 2.
Yep.
Possibly more. Yeah,
that's the game right there.
Well, he was also 9 of 26, but like, so what I was gonna say is like it's not as bad as 28-3, specifically because like the legacy of this game will be determined by what happens next. Mm-hmm. And I can see both scenarios. Like I can see where, okay, like, and pretty much everybody's like, okay, the Spurs are going to win game 5. Game 6 is when the Knicks can put it away. I can see that. I can see the Spurs forcing a game 7. I could see the Knicks winning by 50 in game 5 and the Spurs just like completely flopping over and just being like, because how do you come back from that is really difficult. I mean, 28-3 ruined the Falcons for the foreseeable future. When did that game happen? 8 years ago? And they're still fucked. They're still fucked. It's been 8 years and they've done nothing.
There's like nobody left from that team either.
Right, but like, but I mean, even the next year they came back and it's like they had all the same pieces. Yeah, and they were just bad.
No, like I'm saying, like that's so bad that like it does leave a stain on the franchise.
Well, so if you blow a 29-point lead, people,
right?
Yeah,
but like everyone still smells the shit stain.
Yeah, Arthur Blank's still there, so the shit stain.
That's true.
The shit stain will last, but.
Well, so I think that's just what he smells like.
Yeah, well, that was the point. But blowing a 29-point lead in the NBA Finals,
yeah,
the Spurs have 3 days now because the next game is going to be Saturday. So you have Thursday, Friday, and then all day Saturday to try to find a way to bounce back from this. And I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can recover from this that fast. Maybe they can. But the legacy of this game is going to be determined by what happens next. Like, if the Spurs do find a way to win the championship, the game is going to be like, wow, that was insane. I can't believe that happened. But, like, of course the Spurs won the championship. They were good enough to be up by 29 in New York. Like, they're the better team. But if the Knicks wax them in game 5 or even win this in game 6, we're going to look at that game and be like, that was the opportunity to go 2-2. And, like, make it a best 2 out of 3 series with 2 games in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And you made it a 3-1. Like, the difference between 3-1 and 2-2 is the most massive difference that you can have in a series.
I mean, I will also say that, like, there's kind of been this narrative that maybe has been intentionally cultivated that, like, mentally Wemby's just different, right? I will say missing those free throws does not help. It is a bad look and does not support that narrative at all.
Well, I mean, he is different. Jordan and LeBron never did that. Jordan and LeBron never blew a 29-point lead in the NBA Finals. I'll tell you that. Yeah. It is different.
No, LeBron just got shut down by JJ Barea, who he had like a foot and like 100 and some pounds on.
Yeah. Is that more or less embarrassing than this?
Yes.
If the Spurs lose this series, this is going to be Wemby's JJ Barea moment. This is like, no matter what he does for the rest of his career, this will be held over his head, fair or not.
And I think it'll be fair when people start saying like, hey, like, quit spending all this time with monks and get in the fucking weight room. I think age and time will probably help massively with how he handles these moments. But so will, the confidence that comes with being strong enough to just overpower people.
I said it wasn't as bad as 28-3, and it's not, at least yet, but it is reminiscent of the 28-3 Super Bowl loss in that, you watch that Super Bowl back, like you watch it for the first time, you watch it back. Everything that happened had to go like just so. And there's like 20 things that if only one thing had happened differently, Atlanta would have still won that game. And that's how this game was too. And it's like, you can go back to like, even just working backwards, it's like, okay, nobody put a body on OG and he tipped it in. With 13 seconds left, De'Aaron Fox has the ball. And instead of pulling up and getting fouled and shooting free throws, he goes in for a layup and OG Anunoby swats it off the backboard. Wemby has 2 free throws that could put them up by 2 possessions. He bricks both. You can just keep going back and back and back. And like, there's just so many moments that it could have been different for the Spurs. And so that does remind me of the 28-3. And like, I don't know, man, as much as I am enjoying people shitting on De'Aaron Fox and the Spurs today, because like I picked the Spurs to win the series, so part of me is like I want them to win. The other part of me is like, yeah, like one of the best players in franchise history forced his way to this team, and we have to like suffer through Zach LaVine because of it. So fuck you guys, like have fun losing to the coach that we fired, who I never wanted fired. So, like part of me is enjoying it, but like everybody pinning this on De'Aaron Fox and being like, oh my God, if he had just pulled up and not taken that layup, then the Spurs would have won that game. You blew an entire 29-point lead prior to that play.
Yeah.
So you cannot hang this on him. It is every player in that locker room. It is every coach on that bench. It is every part of that organization that blew this lead. It's not just on, this play or that play or blah, blah, blah. There's like 100 plays that if any of them had gone differently, it's like, okay, one of those threes falls. When you go 2 of 12, one of the 10 that you missed falls. Wemby hits his free throws. OG doesn't get the tip in. Like Jalen Brunson misses one shot down the stretch because he didn't. He did not. And it's funny because I told you earlier in the game, like we were talking in the second quarter, and I was like, oh, the Spurs are just using the strategy of we're going to hit 60% of our shots.
Yeah.
And if you hit 60+% of your shots, you're just not going to lose. Guess what percent of their shots the Knicks hit in the fourth quarter?
70.
60% from the field, 60% from 3, 6 of 10 in the fourth quarter.
So this is the part of that message that you left out, is that you can beat the team that makes 60% of their shots. You just gotta shoot 70.
I feel like the halftime adjustment for Mike Brown was like, all right, guys, listen. They shot 60% in the first half. Let's go out and we'll be the team that shoots 60% in the second half. And they're all like, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't think of that sooner. They just went out and started making everything. So, yeah, but I mean, like, so that game specifically is like a microcosm of who the Spurs are. And like, you have to be that team to allow something like that to happen. And like, I think the same thing about the Falcons is like with Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator. Like there are so many plays in that game where they decided to pass when they should have just been running it and like kicking a field goal and stuff like that. But it's just who they were. And they were going to live and die with who they were. And they're just like, fuck it. Like, they're like, we're the best offense in the league. We'll just throw, for a first down. And then there's like a massive sack and a fumble and like all these things. But like for the Spurs, it is who you are, and it's bit you in the ass at the worst times in this series. Like you think about Wemby and Castle having that miscommunication, throwing it off the back. I've complained to you basically any single time I've seen Carter Bryant on my TV. Just do not understand why this guy gets minutes. Carter Bryant is like I know I said Stephon Castle's the poster boy for the Spurs, but like Carter Bryant takes it to a whole new level of like literally coming in and doing one good thing immediately. Every single time Carter Bryant comes in, I want you guys to watch this in game 5. He will do something good. He'll hit a 3 or he'll have a massive dunk or something good will happen. And he will immediately do 6 stupid things immediately after that. 6 stupid things. In this game, he comes in and hits a 3, then he steals the inbounds pass, and instead of like pulling up and letting them run a possession, he gets blocked by Karl Anthony Towns, and then he just went on to do more stupid shit. But like that's who the Spurs are, is like when they do good stuff, stupid stuff is coming immediately after for all of them. And I feel this way about Victor Wembanyama right now too. The scariest thing to me is when Victor Wembanyama hits a 3. Because I'm like, he's just going to take like 5
more. Going
to
shoot 12 more of those.
Yeah, it's like I don't... And it's nice that you can hit a 3, Victor. That's a fantastic part of your game. But when you're just going to sit out there and be a guard and shoot 8 of them and brick all of them, like you've lost the superpower of having Victor Wembanyama down low and around the rim. And like that's been a big thing I've seen in this series, and something I called out before the series started was the threat of the Knicks having 5 guys on the court at the same time who can shoot, thanks to how good of a shooter Karl Anthony Towns is, has, like I said this before the series started, I'll say it again, it has pulled Victor Wembanyama away from the rim on defense and allowed for the Knicks to get more inside, more buckets inside, more cutting, more slashing, like Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, all of these guys. And that's what happened on that final play last night too, is like they send Wemby out to get Jalen Brunson and he's not in the paint to rebound.
I do want to give you credit that like you called out that advantage and that has played out. And it's like still with the margins of victories in these games, like that shouldn't even matter, right? Like how many times have we watched Stephon Castle just drive directly into traffic with no plan whatsoever just to get the ball stripped? Like he's not going up. No, he's just like, there's
this
a
is another
of
example.
Defenders. Let's go.
Yeah, this is another example. Is like Stephon Castle has this awesome, like, I don't know if it's like a Euro step. I don't know what to call it, but he has this play. He has this like move he makes where he goes straight at a defender, hits him, and then like does this like, I don't know how it's not a travel, but he takes like 2 steps where he like steps to the side and the guy jumps every single time. Then he takes another step and he puts it in. And again, when he hits like a couple of those in a row, it's the scariest thing in the world to me because I'm like, I know exactly what's coming next. Is he's going to go right in there with no plan.
I honestly think that the Knicks may, in their scouting report, like have it built in, like, hey, let him get a couple of these early. And then we're just going to turn it over after.
That's like,
because you know he's going to do it.
Honestly, this is what I would do if I was playing the Spurs, is I would just be like, let's leave Wemby open for a 3. Let's let Castle get a couple buckets. Let's go down 10 in the first quarter. And then they will just start doing stupid shit all over the place and we can win. And it's happened every game in this series so far, is that the Spurs just start doing stupid shit. And like, I don't want to take credit away from the Knicks because like this has been amazing and it's been this awesome run and they've earned the right to be up 3-1, especially like after not giving up. It would have been super easy to like be like, okay, we're going to get some rest for Jalen Brunson and Cat and all these guys. And like, we'll just come back in game 5. And instead of doing that, they're like, Jalen Brunson's playing the entire second half. Like, we're going to run these. We're going back to Tibbs ball. Fuck the backups. Here we go.
In this, like, this is the second time in the playoffs that he's done that, where it's like, yeah, I'm just not going to miss. And I'm going to make, like, single-handedly drive a massive comeback.
Oh yeah. Can I just tell you guys right now? I'm gonna overrate the fuck out of this guy in NBA top 30. On like what number is too high for Jalen Brunson at this point with like what we just saw last night? Like, 1? Can I put him 0? Can I put him 0 with? I have a soft spot for Brunson. I just like as an NBA fan my entire life, like the NBA basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. I like to keep it fresh on the microphone. No, little Bow Wow, anybody? Now he's just Bow Wow. Now, have you seen Bow Wow lately?
I have not.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and don't. Bow Wow. Bow Wow and Amanda Bynes. Remember Amanda Bynes?
Yeah, I unfortunately have seen that one.
It's essentially the same situation, just yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, turns out being child stars is not healthy.
Yeah. So I love basketball, and if you listen to this podcast, you know that like there is a type of player that I have a soft spot for, and it is like the underathletic, undersized, like the dude who is just really, really good at basketball.
Yeah.
And you can't quite figure out why, because you're like everybody around him is more like Peyton Pritchard, Luka Garza. Like these are all guys in the drafts that I was like, I just want that guy on my team because he's good at basketball. And like Jalen Brunson is the ultimate example of this. And like I feel this way about NFL wide receivers too, where
I got a guy for you in the draft.
Okay, I want to hear it in a sec, but like if you say Nate Ament, my head will explode. Fucking hate that guy so much. The perfect comp for Nate Ament is Carter Bryant. For all of the reasons I was just complaining about, like they're not the same player at all. They don't have the same playing style or the same strengths and weaknesses. But like every time I watch Nate Ament, I'm like, he's going to do something stupid. Like what was that show where they're all? I think it was like Family Guy, where they're all watching Peter and they're like, or maybe it was Futurama, where they're all watching him and they're like, wait, he's gonna do something stupid. And they're all, maybe it was American Dad. It's one of those. It's one of the animated shows that we like. I gotta find it, but they're all staring at someone and they're like, wait, he's gonna do something stupid. I'm like, that's me watching Nate Ament tape. I'm like, anything good is immediately erased by the stupidity. But back to my original point, I love guys that are just like, NFL wide receivers who get separation by technique and not necessarily because they're faster and bigger and stronger. NBA players who are just good at basketball because they're like, they've honed their craft to the nth degree. Like I just have a certain respect and appreciation for those guys. And Jalen Brunson is maybe the best player ever when it comes to that category of like, he's too short. He is not as athletic as the guys he's playing against. Yet he is the best guy on the court of every single game. Like you cannot tell me Jalen Brunson was not the best guy on the court last night on a court that had Victor Wembanyama on it.
Yeah.
The only argument I'd hear is that OG Anunoby might have been the best player on the court. I hate New York sports. I love Jalen Brunson because of that, because he's just like the ultimate example of like it's footwork and like getting to your spots and just like shooting that midi fadeaway over and over and over again in the gym until you have a perfect feel for it. And
yeah, well, and you can see it. You can see that trajectory over his career. Like that, like he didn't just burst onto the scene, right? It was like there was that incremental, not necessarily small increments, but incremental improvements from year to year up to now. And like obviously last couple of years in New York, he has kind of gotten so good to a point of like diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Because there's only like so much better someone can get at a certain point. But like the evidence is all there.
Yeah. Well, I think about that Villanova team as well. And the fact that like
You mean
none
the
of
team
those
that he's playing
guys.
on now?
Yeah, well, minus DDV.
Yeah.
But like none of those guys were drafted particularly high. Mikal Bridges.
No.
Yes, fucking nailed it. Yes, Mikal Bridges. Finally.
You cannot cut this part.
This is possibly a bigger comeback than the Knicks coming back from 29 is me saying Mikal Bridges' name correctly the first time. He was drafted, like 10th in the draft? And I think he was the highest drafted Knick. Like Hart and DDV and obviously Brunson went in the second round. Like they all went after him. And it goes back to like my big fish, small pond theory is like when you have this team that's this awesome at college basketball, like they won 2 national championships in 3 years, something like that with Jay Wright. And people are like, I don't know about those guys. Give me all of those guys. I want every single guy on that team. So who's your draft guy this year?
Christian Anderson.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah. Like 6'2", good, not great athlete. Like plays all of the minutes. Like all of the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And some would probably fight me on this, but best shooter in the draft.
Yeah, that's the type of dude I love. Just good at basketball, honed his craft. Like that Carter Bryant and Nate Ament are the type of prospects I hate, where it's like, yeah, we know that like he's not that great, but he's really young and he's really athletic. And if we can mold him into someone, who knows? And like in the 1% cases that works out, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, great, you hit an all-timer. But like if you go up to the plate trying to hit a home run every single time, you're going to strike out way more often than not.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay, depending on, who you are and what you're trying to do in the NBA, but it's okay to go up and hit doubles and singles and like get the Peyton Pritchards and the Luka Garzas. And like sometimes that double turns into a home run with Jalen Brunson, where it's just like, we got a really good backup guard. And all of a sudden it's like, and I mean, I know the Knicks didn't draft him. Obviously the Mavericks did that and quote unquote let him go. People are like, the Mavericks could have locked him in long term, way ahead of that, and they didn't. His dad coaches on the Knicks. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? Leon Rose is his godfather, the president of the Knicks. Like he was not going to stay in Dallas, right? Like
I think it's fair to say that if he had been offered a max deal early enough, that he might have taken that. Right.
Well, a max deal, probably. Yeah. But he never got it. He was never getting that offer, not even from his godfather, right?
By the time he hit restricted free agency, I think there was maybe some talks about it. But once he hit free agency, there was no way he was going anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, 3-1 Knicks. Anything that you tell me is going to happen in this series, I would believe it at this point. Like, I feel like it's been a wild series so far. If you were like the Spurs are going to win in 7, I'd be like, yeah, I could see it. If you're like the Knicks are going to wax them by 50 in game 5 and it's going to be over, I could see that too. I think the most likely scenario is the Spurs do win game 5 and then the Knicks probably win in 6, unless Donald Trump decides to show back up in game 6. That might ruin it. But it was funny to me, like Trump shows up for game 3 and it really throws off the energy and the Spurs win. And all of a sudden this feels like the Spurs are gonna like take this series over. And the Knicks are like, oh God, like what do we do? Who could we get in this building to turn this momentum around? And all of a sudden it's like lifelong Knicks fan Taylor Swift is courtside. And I'm like, oh, come on, Taylor Swift. And her and her friends all have shirts that are like, hers said like Stevie Nicks, but it was like, Knicks, like spelled like the team. And someone else had like Nickelback, but it was like Knicks, like, And I was like, Taylor Swift's from Tennessee. Her boyfriend plays for Kansas City. She was
Mhm.
just at a Cleveland game with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Since when is Taylor Swift a Knicks fan? But it worked for them. They did it. They changed the mojo around by getting Taylor Swift in there. And they're like, beat that, San Antonio. And all San Antonio has is a bunch of fat women courtside. Not getting a lot of help there. But, one thing I did enjoy about the game last night was like just watching the reaction of all the celebrities courtside to everything that was going on. Like, because I think we forget sometimes that celebrities are just regular people who are like super famous for things. And you have like Chalamet and Ben Stiller and Spike Lee and like Taylor Swift and Jimmy Fallon and all these people courtside. And you're just watching like the pure agony on their faces as the Knicks get obliterated. And then just the unbridled joy of their team coming back from being down 29. And like Jerry Seinfeld is like on his knees on the side of the court yelling. He's like, ah! And then Jimmy Fallon is like jumping up and down like a little kid. And like,
I thought it was so funny when they showed Larry David at the end of the game, and he still just like looks miserable. Like,
yeah,
it's just
always had the same look on his face.
Yeah, that's on brand.
That's just Larry David for you. But like, I don't know. On one hand, I'm like, it's really fun, and on the other hand, I'm like, screw you guys, because you guys are the ones like, you're super rich and super famous, and yet you're probably getting these tickets for free to be there, while the actual Knicks fans who are just like regular working people are getting priced out of ever attending these games, and
so Charles Oakley's band.
Charles Oakley's band, for some reason, like, and like for the first couple of games too, I was like, the Knicks like star power is really kind of waning, because they have like Celebrity Row, and it's like Spike Lee, Timothy Chalamet, Ben Stiller. There's someone I'm missing who's sitting there, but like, I'm also watching the game, and every single free throw someone shoots, I see Fat Joe in the background. Like, Fat Joe is courtside of the NBA Finals. Like, and I don't know, I guess somebody reach out to us, fouledoutsports@gmail.com, and let me know what Fat Joe has done that's culturally relevant in the last 20 years to like get courtside Knicks tickets.
Yeah. DJ Khaled was there.
Yeah. DJ Khaled's still pretty famous, though.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you had like all these famous people, and those are the people they show all the time. And then I'm like, Fat Joe, what's Fat Joe doing? And there was like numerous people like, but then like game 4, it's like they really, Taylor Swift is one of the most famous people in the world. Yeah. So you have her, and then you have, Chalamet and all these other celebrities and stuff like that. But I also was looking at all the courtside people, all the rich people who buy the courtside seats. And I had to ask you, what % of people sitting courtside at game 4 do you think were named in the Epstein files?
At least 20?
Donald Trump was there for game 3, and we definitely know that he was named.
He was like in a box, though, so he doesn't count.
There was a report.
He had to have a box so he could take his nap.
Yeah, well, there was a report that was like he was thinking about sitting courtside, and he had to be talked out of it. And I'm like, oh my god, we missed like potentially the greatest media moment in the history.
OG Anunoby just takes him out.
Oh man, I was like, just from the spectacle alone, I understand why he can't do that, but I was like, just the spectacle alone of him attempting that, I think would be incredible TV, and like completely would have fucked the NBA Finals. But they're also one of the best memes from game 3 was Mariska Hargitay, and I can't remember the guy's name, but they were on Law and Order SVU together. I think they still are. There was a picture of them sitting courtside together, and people are like, tell them there's a pedophile at game 3. I'm like, there's a lot of pedophiles, and you're sitting amongst all of them, because they're all like rich New York finance people. I'm like, I guarantee that it's probably some people that need to be on Law and Order SVU there.
I guess she was like wearing this jersey that Jalen Brunson signed for her that said "I love you" on it. Like, it's like that's pretty wild to
I
me.
love Mariska Hargitay. You ever seen The Love Guru with Mike Myers?
Yeah.
He goes around and he's like, Mariska Hargitay, Val Kilmer, Mariska
Yeah.
Hargitay. And he looks up and it turns like Mariska Hargitay, Mariska Hargitay. It's the only thing I can think of when I see her. We've gone so far off the rails on this podcast.
We needed a cleanser.
Yeah, well,
from the Spurs.
It was a wild game. Like I said, I sat in my bed for 45 minutes after staring at a wall, just replaying in my head and thinking about, like, what do I even say on the pod? Aside from the NBA Finals, the NBA Draft is in just under 2 weeks. Tuesday, June 23rd. So next week, we're going to talk about probably the end of the finals, would be my guess. So we have a game Saturday and then Tuesday. So we'll probably be back recording on our normal Wednesday next week, talking about likely the end of the finals. We'll do a mock draft for the NBA draft, because then, like, I think the following week we'll either record the day after the draft or maybe the day of the draft and do like live reactions. But you have any like early draft thoughts? Or I guess it's not that early in the process, but there's been a lot of smoke and mirrors, lots of buzz lately.
I'll tell you what, it sure feels like the NBA is telling us that AJ Devansta is going number one, with having him go to charity events and ESPN listing him as predicted number one overall pick, AJ Devansta.
Yeah.
So
there's been a lot of smoke lately. There's been a lot of smoke lately that Cam Boozer could be the number one overall pick. But I still think it will be Devansa. You know, I would take Boozer number one. I've been pretty adamant about that for a while now.
Especially if they are going to keep the guys that they just traded for. I think that would actually be the best fit.
Well, so that, I think, is the bigger question. Is they said AJ Devansa, or they're hinting at AJ Devansa going number one. They didn't say the Wizards are taking him. I still think that there is a potential deal there with the Jazz. For, like, the Jazz are pretty desperate to get him. You know, Ainge has kind of like cooled the rumors a little bit and basically like put out there that they're okay taking Peterson or Boozer at number two and like sitting there. But like, knowing what we know before smokescreen season, I still see, like, you know, is it number two and Ace Bailey or something like that, who like wanted to be in Washington anyway, you know, and you move up one spot and you get Devansa, and if you're Washington, you take Boozer and you tell everybody, we were going to take Boozer number one overall anyway. We just got the extra assets, kind of thing.
I get that there's been all the smoke about Devansta for Utah. I think it's also really important to remember that Cam Boozer's dad is in Utah's front office. And I kind of have a hard time believing that if Washington is going to play the game of, hey, you got to make this worth our while to move back that one spot, that they're not kind of sitting there saying, we're good with taking what's left.
I just looked up a mock draft to just kind of see what the latest intel is, and this is who is this? Bleacher Report's latest mock, and it's like number one Devansa to the Wizards, number two Peterson to the Jazz, number three Cameron Boozer to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I was like, wait, what? And it's a three-way trade. The Oklahoma City Thunder get the number 3 pick, Jalen Wells, Isaiah Stewart, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Detroit's 2030 first-round pick. Memphis gets Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, the number 12 pick from Oklahoma City, the number 21 pick from Detroit, and a 2031 pick swap via Detroit. And Detroit gets J-Dub. I was just like, That is
I was gonna say like
trade.
that had to be a big time player for them to try anything like that.
Yeah. But that's so they're saying beef stew, your 2030 pick, a 2031 pick swap, Holland and Asar Thompson.
I still think that's an overpay.
That no, that's what I'm saying. That's a lot for J-Dub. I don't like, maybe Asar Thompson's not in that. You put someone else in that. But I mean, J-Dub and Cade
Asar at this point is a big time chip in any trade.
Yeah. Yeah. What I was going to say before I looked that up, though, was there has been a ton of smoke about the Sacramento Kings being really interested in Darius Acuff and wanting him. And kind of before the NBA Finals started, it kind of started sounding like he might just be available at 7 because the Clippers are like really interested in Wagler and Burries, and they're like looking more for like the shooting guard type of guy than the primary ball handler because they want to move forward with like Darius Garland as their point guard. And then the Nets are interested in like Mara and Ament Thompson, who I was making fun of earlier. And like, it's like, oh yeah, Darius, could be available. And I just feel like everybody watching Jalen Brunson on like during the NBA Finals and all of this stuff about like, well, you can't take him. He's a small guard. He doesn't play defense, blah, blah, blah. But he can be your primary offensive engine and like score a shitload of points and dish out assists and stuff. I feel like people are like kind of looking at Acuff again and being like, oh, maybe we can win with this type of guy. And I think this goes back to right lesson, wrong lesson that we talk about every year of like, if the Knicks win the championship, what is the right lesson to take away and what is the wrong lesson to take away? I think the wrong lesson is, and I'm not saying teams shouldn't draft Darius Acuff because I think he's going to be really good. I actually really do like him. But if they win, I don't think you can just automatically be like small guards. Like we can all just have small guards again. It's totally fine because like Jalen Brunson is a 1-of-1, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
I think right lesson here is, last year they lose to the Pacers. And there's a lot of talk of like, they lost in 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. And people are like, oh my God, they have to trade Cat. And like the Miles Bridges trade was a disaster. And I can't believe they traded for OG Anunoby. And like, who do they ship out? Let's blow it up. We got to do something. We can't bring the same team back. And this team really like, they changed their coach. They didn't like the way that they were playing. So they changed the coach out and they make smaller changes around the fringes. They didn't trade Cat away. They didn't trade OG Anunoby away. They didn't like lose their minds. And I think about this with the Thunder too, is like you lost to the Spurs. And so everybody's like, we got to trade Chet. We got to trade J. Like I just read you a J-Dub trade. We have to make huge sweeping changes. And like, I'm not saying the Thunder should do nothing, but also I'm not watching this finals and being like the Spurs team is completely unbeatable. Like this finals is kind of wearing the mystique of the Spurs off a little bit.
Yeah. So how upset is OKC about losing that series now? Right? Because I would imagine that if I'm them watching this series, like, oh, we're winning this series. Like, if they are in the positions that the Spurs have been in this series, it might already be over.
Yeah, like, do they do the same stupid shit the Spurs have done? But, like, I think that's a good lesson to take away from the Knicks. Like, I mean, win or lose, because like we said, it is still possible, although unlikely, that the Spurs could still win the championship. But I think it's a good lesson to take away from the Knicks is, like, almost all of NBA history is littered with teams that like bump their heads up against the glass ceiling over and over again until they finally broke through. Like, the Jordan Bulls were like that. People don't think about it because they won 6 championships, but for years Jordan was like a loser. He didn't start winning championships till he was in his 30s, right? So like all of his 20s and stuff, people
Yeah.
were asking questions like, can this guy do it? Like blah, blah, blah. You know, and you could say the same thing like with the Pistons, with Isaiah Thomas, like finally getting over the hump and winning a championship, and like the Magic and Bird. And, you know, even more recently, there have been teams like, you know, the Miami Heat. They put this team together. They don't win the first year. They got to come back and they got to win. Like there's all these examples of it. Yeah, there's all these examples of it throughout NBA history. And like it's just recent history where a team loses and we're like, they have to blow it up. No, you can't bring the same team back, blah, blah, blah. And I think there is a lot to be said for team unity and like knowing each other and having that feel for each other and having been through the wars together and knowing like, and I think that's what we're seeing with the Knicks right now is like, no, they're not as talented as the San Antonio Spurs. They're just not. We've seen that in this series, but they know who they are, especially in crunch time. They have been through wars together. They've been through these trials and tribulations, like for a lot of these guys ever since college, for, you know, Hart and Bridges and Brunson. And I think there's a lot of value in that. And I think that's why they're able to pull off something like last night. I don't think like a super team you threw together yesterday comes back from that 29-point deficit.
No, continuity goes a long way. I mean, there's a reason why, like, if you look at any given year in the NFL, like which teams have the best offensive lines, like 9 times out of 10, like the top 3 offensive lines in the NFL have mostly guys that have been playing together for 2 to 3 years. You know, it's not teams that signed a bunch of like big free agents and like drafted a bunch of guys high in the draft, like in that year, right? Because it's really important to function together collectively as a whole hand, as opposed to 5 fingers that are operating independently on different pages.
Yeah, so I think like if I was playing right lesson, wrong lesson, like that's the lesson. You know, I think like if you're looking at lessons from the Spurs, it's really hard. It's like tanking worked. That's the lesson. They're the process Sixers. If the process Sixers had, you know, drafted the right guys instead of Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Markelle Fultz, right? So they have a 6'5" generational player. It's like, hey, when you can get the generational player, take the generational player. I also think like a good lesson from the Spurs would be, I feel like they didn't do a ton at the trade deadline because they didn't think that this is where they were. And they're like, okay, like we're still like a year away. And that when you have guys like Victor Wembanyama, I mean, not that there are very many or that very many teams ever have, but like when you have superstars, things happen faster than you expect. And
yeah,
I think they're sorely missing, like, could they have added a vet at the trade deadline who could really be helping them right now?
mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of what they're missing now. But
yeah, I know, like, I know he retired, and I know that he hasn't made a lot of friends around the league, but like, he was on that team just a few years ago. Like, they sure could have used a Chris Paul.
Yep.
Like, Chris Paul is not gonna let that kind of shit fly. You know, do they make a play for Mike Conley in the offseason?
Yeah, they kind of, this is the thing I was thinking about with Carter Bryant too, is like just watching him do stupid shit. And I'm like, Kelly Olynyk can't play, not even for a minute. He's just at the end of the bench. Like he's a vet, you know, he's experienced. I'm like,
yeah.
But I guess not. I guess we have to keep watching Carter Bryant and the Spurs do stupid shit, at least for one more game. But
no, they only go that far down the bench to call in hits.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair, but that is it for us. As always, Fouled Out can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, anywhere you get your podcast. You can hit us up on Gmail, fouledoutsports@gmail.com. You can watch the podcast on YouTube. Look up Fouled Out Sports. You can now watch the podcast on Spotify. I found that out because I uploaded the wrong file to Spotify last week. I put the video on there instead of the audio, and there was a video on Spotify. So congratulations, Fouled Out. Your video is on Spotify now. So check that out. You can also listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast. And however you're supporting the pod, thank you for your support. Matt and I will be back next week. Maybe after the end of the finals, or maybe to preview Game 7. But either way, we will have a mock draft, at least for the lottery portion of the NBA draft. And then we'll let you guys know the schedule after that. But for now, my friend, I will see you soon.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Robin.